Welcome to the Artist's Way, a 12-week course, a spiritual path to higher creativity. Woo!
I'm Ginnie.
And I'm Sarah. And we are your very strange but hopefully charming facilitators, leaders for this process.
Let's go! All right.
Hey! Video's on! Say hi. Hi, Barry. Say hi to everybody.
Oh, he's so excited and he doesn't know why.
So this is our first video starting to launch into some of what you can expect since you've decided to join us on this journey of the Artist's Way. There are a few things that are kind of consistent throughout the entire process that are introduced in this first chapter, and they will be with you for the entire time. But I'm so glad that you guys have decided to do this because it has been transformational to me. The first time we did this, Ginnie really went all in with me, and really us doing it together I think really made the process more enjoyable and helped me really see it through all the way to the end, because I had started it many times and had never quite gotten all the way through it because it's, well, and she'll talk about this a lot in the book, there's a lot of resistance to this work.
Yeah, so I think she calls them tantrums, right? Like when you're really resisting doing the good thing that helps you.
Yeah, and so, there's so much in the beginning of this book, and we're just going to talk briefly about some of the more important tools and kind of points, but definitely get your copy of the book. You can get it really cheap on Amazon, used if you want to. If you really can't get it, I have written summaries of each chapter that I can share with you, so reach out if for financial reasons or just for some odd reason you don't get the book but you want to participate anyway. You can definitely still do that, but obviously having it, reading some of the stuff that we're not going to directly talk about is really helpful.
Yeah.
And really, really good.
I guess another option is you can get it on ebook, and I know there's an Audible version, but everyone I read the reviews on Audible and they were like, should have just gotten the book.
Yeah. Yeah, usually workbook style things, it's really hard to listen and really get it all. That's been my experience.
And there is a workbook of it, but I didn't see much of a point because you end up writing in a notebook anyway.
Yes, which is a great point. That would be get your book and get your notebook for your pages. I read somewhere, I don't know if it was in this one or the other one, where she says it's bigger is better for your notebook for this particular work, because you just don't want to cramp your thoughts at all. So you really want to feel free to go long form, longhand, and write a lot. And it's, so yeah, that would be one of the first things to procure, your book, notebook, and we'll talk about kind of why you need this notebook in a minute. Yes, you can have them match, color coordinated is always good.
I know AC Moore sells them for $5 for this size, but you can go even bigger, also probably for the same amount of money.
Or again, if you are financially strapped and don't have a notebook, don't let that stop you either. Just get some scrap paper or whatever and just do it.
And write on the sidewalk.
Yeah, man, whatever you gotta do. Don't let your brain fool you into thinking that money is something that's going to prohibit you from participating in this process, because it can be for free.
Yes.
It really can.
It can.
Yeah. So that's a trick.
For super cheap.
Super cheap. Yeah, definitely super cheap. Alright, so I think first I want to talk about the basic principles, which are outlined here in this first kind of introductory chapter of the Artist's Way. So the subtitle of this, if you don't know already, is A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. So that kind of tells you right from the beginning what you're getting into a little bit. The language is different. It is spiritual in nature. She uses the word God, but I really love how she says that to her that means good, orderly direction. So you
flow.
Yeah, so you don't have to think about it as like a big bearded dude in the sky. If that is how you think of God, that's fine. But just I hope that even those of you who don't necessarily identify with a Christian God or believe in a Christian God can overcome any resistance to that word and not let it trip you up too much. Because it's not going to be important. You don't have to believe in God to get so much out of this process. But so this will explain it more. These basic principles kind of start to explain the spirituality of this process a little bit more clearly. So number 1, creativity is the natural order of life. Life is energy, pure creative energy. Number 2, there is an underlying, indwelling, creative force infusing all of life, including ourselves. Number 3, when we open ourselves to our creativity, we open ourselves to the Creator's creativity within us and our lives. Number 4, we are ourselves creations, and we, in turn, are meant to continue creativity by being creative ourselves. Number 5, creativity is God's gift to us. Using our creativity is our gift back to God. Number 6, the refusal to be creative is self-will and is counter to our true nature. Number 7, when we open ourselves to exploring our creativity, we open ourselves to God, good, orderly direction. As we open our creative channel to the Creator, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. Number 9, it is safe to open ourselves up to greater and greater creativity. And number 10, our creative dreams and yearnings come from a divine source. As we move toward our dreams, we move toward our divinity.
Actually, I haven't read these a second time. And I remember the first time I read these, how uncomfortable I felt at some of the points, especially when it brought up God, because I really had not felt spiritual for the last decade, at least. And now, like, my association with them is so radically different. It's really, I really like that we are revisiting this in the process too. We're also participating.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because we just completed this just a few weeks back, going through the whole thing ourselves, and we got so much out of it that we wanted to give that gift again to other people if they want to. And there's going to be so much that I look forward to getting out of it the second time through, because it really is transformational. So the way that she helped you kind of slowly open to some of these concepts that might be a little bit stickier for you, just really note that at this point. If anything I said or any of these principles kind of made you go, I don't know, just note that. Don't let it stop you. Don't get hung up on it. Don't worry about it. That's fine. That's natural. That's normal. Like, we all have those things that we can't accept immediately. It's totally fine. Just note it and see how that might change for you over the course of the process.
Yeah. And I'd say if you go into the basic tools section,
there it is.
If you go into the basic tools section, which is it's still in the introduction, it tells you the few things that you're going to have to do in order to allow the creativity flow through you once again. And the big one, which is the hardest one, I think, well, they're all hard in their own way. But the biggest one is because if it's all about endurance and consistency, which you will find, is your morning pages. So the morning pages are 3 pages a day. So can I give you I'll hold it from back here so you can't see it. Blurred. So they're 3 pages a day, and you can see sometimes I've been a bad girl. But this looks a lot better. This is pretty simple. 3 pages a day is just constant writing. It's really stream of consciousness writing. There's no judgment. No one is meant to actually read them. That's why I held it so far away. This is just for you to, in the beginning it just felt like regurgitation. It felt like sludge coming out of my brain. I felt kind of sick in the beginning and wondered at my own state of mind. But it's just really important not to judge yourself with what you write. It just is. It doesn't reflect on you mentally. It just is, and it gets out there. And sometimes it's extreme, and sometimes it's just stupid and mundane. but they're not really meant to be reread, especially at this point in the game.
Yeah, I did learn though, because at first I was like, yeah, we're not going to read them again, so I would actually get rid of them or delete, like I typed some of them and deleted them, and then later in the process she does have us go back and read at a specific point though.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to do it until that point.
I wouldn't say you're ever going to probably read your first few weeks of pages, just because you're getting into the process and it still feels like you're writing for an audience, not yourself, in the first few weeks. And that's why I think it was hard for me to get into. And I was like, then it finally clicked, oh, no one's going to see this. Like, nobody. I just need to do it.
Yeah.
I want to do it, and then I just do it. And so I had a lot of resistance in the beginning. I think if I looked back at my original journal, there were some pages that were like a third full. But I did them, and I tried them. And if you can do it every day, that's the goal. Every day, Monday through Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it's the goal, but also, again, if it doesn't happen, the better option is not to, oh, well, I blew it, I ruined it, I should stop here. Or if right now you're like, oh, every day, I can't possibly do it every day, I can't do this process. Like, just allow that resistance to come and just do it anyway. Like, just try.
Just do it anyway. Just try it, yeah.
Just try.
And sometimes it'll just stop, and that's okay. We don't judge ourselves. We just live our lives to the next day, and then we shoot for it again. Sometimes I've done it multiple times a day.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I went through, like, I've done cycles where I didn't do it at all for 2 days straight, and then all I wanted to do was write all day long. So sometimes we find these balances, but the goal every morning when you wake up is to say, I'm going to do my pages. And then you do it.
And you do, and you feel so much better for it most of the time.
Better.
If you don't, that's okay too.
In the beginning, you might not. It's okay, because you still feel like it's an audience. But every week when we have our big cohort meetup together, we will ask everyone, including ourselves, the same question of, how many days did you do your pages this week? It's not judgmental. It's just to cheer each other on.
Yeah, accountability.
And I feel like this is definitely, like, what would you say, 50% of the work?
Yeah, maybe even more.
Maybe even more. This is essential. And this isn't, it isn't about being a writer at all. It's about just letting it go, and then eventually you'll find answers as to where your blocks are, and then you can heal. Yeah,
so again, if you get the book and read what she has to say about it, throughout the book she shares a lot of anecdotes of people that she's worked with through this process and things like that are all really helpful in clarifying exactly, some of the questions that might be coming up. And if you have any questions about what the pages are supposed to be, if you don't have the book, feel free to contact us and we can clarify anything that we need to.
And I'll end the pages section with a quote that she has.
Excellent.
Words are a form of action capable of influencing change, by Ingrid Spendius. I don't know, but words are going to help you change.
Yeah, so 3 stream of consciousness pages every morning pages. That's all it is.
It's your workout.
Straightforward and easy. The other tool that happens throughout the process, consistently every week, is something called an artist date. Some
romance right now.
The artist date is a time once a week where you take your inner artist or your inner child, yourself, out on a date for fun. And you can do anything you want, really. The only rule is that you have to go alone.
And be intentional, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really only counts if you decide that it's your artist date and you go. I think there's something about, like, you can't have done something by yourself and be like, oh, that's going to be my artist date. Because there's something about the ritual of like asking yourself out, basically. It's like you have to, seduce your artist.
It's like, hey, Ginny, you want to go smell all these different coffee beans at a coffee shop? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, you gotta ask, and you gotta set the time and show up and pick yourself up with a fancy car and go and do the thing. The point of it is really just to start asking yourself, where do you find joy? Where do you find playfulness? What stimulates your imagination? What connects you to your environment? And it's meant to kind of enliven you, and it absolutely did the trick for me. Like it made a huge difference. Me sitting and asking myself, what do I want to do for fun, was like radical. Yeah. It was radical. I didn't expect it to be, but it ended up absolutely being a really intense process.
And then also dealing with sometimes the fear that we don't always realize we have of, what do you mean I have to do this alone? But I want to invite a friend along with me. I don't want to be alone. And learning to enjoy not having the demands of others on your own experience is a true gift in the process.
Yeah, I think I'm an introvert, so to me I'm like, wait, what? Like, no, of course I'm going to go alone. But yeah, not everybody is that way. So if that's you, if that's something that is harder for you to think about doing, then yeah, I mean, it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but I think it gets better.
Yeah, it does. I love being alone now. I now work from home. I was so worried when I took this job that I wouldn't be able to do it, to be alone all the time. I just love it. I'm just like, sometimes things intervene, and I'm like, I just want to be back alone again. I want to go on my walk. I want to smell the flowers without anyone else's schedule to impact my own.
Yeah, it really is a huge gift to yourself, but you will be surprised at how much you resist it and avoid it. It really doesn't need to be like very long. It can be an hour once a week. Again, if you're like, I don't have time for that, she talks about that kind of stuff coming up a lot in the book. Just recognize that resistance and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because you will find time. You can find the time. It's one of my pet peeves, actually, when people, and I'm not trying to be judgmental. Maybe I am being judgmental, but like, I feel like time is something that you make. It's not something that you have. It's something you create.
Yeah.
You have to prioritize yourself, like really your well-being, and I think having a creative outlet, feeling connected to your creativity, is a basic need, like food and water.
Yeah. And if it's something that you really want, you will do it. And then sometimes this other part of you will really fight against what you want, and you just have to acknowledge it, like, oh wow, this pressure, pulling on me right now, or someone else is pulling on me. You can set the boundary and make your own time. And sometimes I really learn to have little artist dates every day when I have my walk. Like I go to some specific places and come up with some stories in my head and stuff, and I get so much joy out of it, and I'm intentional when I'm doing it, and I'm not giving the full hour once a week, but I'm giving 30 minutes like several days a week, and I feel like that could work too. So sometimes people can do it on their lunch break at work, just to get out of the faculty room, get out of the chit chat, and go on a walk while you eat your sandwich.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't have to go far. You don't have to spend money. It can.
Sometimes it's better not to spend money.
Yeah,
it's like better to like have that like, I will smell every candle, but I can buy none.
Yeah, definitely. So just make it work for you, and enjoy the process of asking yourself out, what would you want to do for fun, right? What if you just had all this time to do whatever you wanted? What would that be?
Or I liked your strategy too of if I want someone to take me out on a date,
right?
Where would they take me to?
Yeah.
What would they do? And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, what would the perfect boyfriend, like if you had this ideal
the romantic
lover, right? The person, who knew you better than you knew yourself, right? What date would they set up for
Sparks you? Novel.
And then do that for your damn self.
Yes, you do it for yourself. I have one quote that I really like about this that she has in the book. So you see, imagination needs moodling, long, inefficient, happy idling, dawdling and puttering, by Brenda Euland. Did I say that word right? Moodling.
I've not heard that word.
I think she made up some of these.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, that's a very accurate expression of a lot of what this book will feel like and kind of is. It's like clearing space for you to moodle.
Yeah. So, this is probably the most important page, right?
The contract?
Before you start your process. I never signed my original contract. I think I might have done it in my journal. Let's do it now. You can do it in yours. I recommend, if you want to share with someone in the beginning, that's cool, but it really is worth getting your own copy one day, because you could reread it.
Yes.
Do it again forever and ever.
I, Sarah,
Ginnie,
understand that I am undertaking an intensive, guided encounter with my own creativity.
I commit myself to the 12-week duration of the course. I, Ginnie,
Sarah, commit to weekly reading, daily morning pages, a weekly artist date, and the fulfillment of each week's tasks.
Fulfillment.
Oh yeah, so on top of the things we just mentioned,
You have homework.
There are some questions that, like prompts basically for your journaling every week. But that's it, just those things.
Still in your journal,
Yeah.
mostly. I, Ginnie,
Sarah.
further understand that this course will raise issues and emotions for me to deal with.
I, Sarah,
Ginnie,
commit myself to excellent self-care, adequate sleep, diet, exercise, and pampering for the duration of the course. Signed, Sarah.
Ginnie, signature. And what's
What is
today?
The 28th.
The 28th. 8/28.
All right.
So this first session was recorded, but all future ones will be live on YouTube Live. So we're going to ask that you subscribe so that you are alert to it. But I think we're going to try and make sure it happens. Was it 9:30 every Tuesday?
I think that's a safe bet.
If you can't make it, that's okay.
It will be recorded.
It will be recorded, and you can still comment and interact. It's the biggest thing about this. We're just trying to better ourselves and help the community of artists and aspiring artists and anyone who wants to be here.
Yeah.
And
even if you don't think of yourself as an artist yet, this is for you, because every single person, you read those basic principles, everyone is creative. They are an act of creation, and it is their true nature to continue that act of creation by being creative themselves.
Yes. And we are all here on this earth in this mission to be creative, to create. And I totally believe that in our own society and in other societies, that's one thing we all have in common. No one does not create.
Right. Yeah, so this process will help you figure out, what it is you are here to create, and empower you to do that. And we're here to help. That's it. Because we love you.
So every Tuesdays at 9:30.
Yes.
All right.
We'll see you then.
Yeah. This is the Artist's Way.
A spiritual path to higher creativity.
I'm Ginnie.
I'm Sarah.
We're here to do it too.